Well, let's start with why I want to apply here. And if anybody read the Minuteman today, you know that Billerica has talent, and so that's the front page today, and it was just a great representation of your community.
Nice plug, Liana.
Yeah. A couple of cute kids talking about the performances that are going on across the district. But that's just one small example of my understanding of Billerica as a community. It's people come to Billerica, they stay in Billerica, they come back to Billerica, and that's the type of community that I would want to spend my time working with to improve and enhance the educational experience of this community's children. A little bit about myself. I come from a family of educators. My father was a middle school principal for Andover Public Schools for over 30 years. My journey has been a little bit different than his. I've started my teaching career in the Andover Public Schools. My first administrative position was in an international school in Greece as an assistant principal in high school. Absolutely loved that experience. From there, I went to a small high school in Mid-Coast, Maine. Spent 6 years there. Then went from about 350 students to nearly 2,000 students at Leominster High School. And my most recent position is assistant superintendent, as you said, for the Pentucket Regional School District. And I think one of the things that I hope we have a chance to talk about tonight is throughout all of those leadership positions, my primary focus has been on the teaching and learning process. I think, and I hope that after our conversation this evening, you'll see that all of my leadership goals are to try to enhance and develop an environment where students are, all students are challenged, they're actively engaged in the learning process, that it's focused on inquiry and differentiated for all the differences of the students in the classroom. I want the students that I am in a leadership position going home, sitting around the dinner table and not saying, what happened today in school? Oh, it was boring. What happened today in school? Let me tell you, and have some excited faces explaining the wonderful experiences that they've had. So that's just a little bit about myself, thumbnail sketch of what's important to me.
One of the tough parts with this, I mean, we did a number of work years back with co-teaching, particularly at the middle school level, particularly in math and English language arts. And one of the issues that's faced when you talk about some general education staff and inclusion is that there's this perception that there's two different worlds. And I think one of the most powerful things in the training that we did was that we had two people that came in from EDC that did this training. And this is a training we did collaboratively with the towns of Tingsboro, not Tingsboro, we did it with Tewksbury, we did it with Chelmsford, and there's another district that I can't remember right now. But they laid some of the cards out on the table because what can make that conversation difficult is when people think there are faulty assumptions from the other side. When regular ed teachers say, you know what, they're watering down my curriculum, I need to have my standards. And when special ed teachers say, I shouldn't say this is what some of the thinking is, not necessarily what they're saying. You know, special ed teachers saying, well, they don't understand, you know, my kids, they don't understand that there's a difference between an accommodation and changing the curriculum. Accommodations are okay. And I think one of the most powerful things with that training is that those kinds of perceptions were laid right out on the table. They were raw and out on the table for people to see. And until, you know, some of the core values around what inclusion means and how, you know, we really have a belief that we need to meet the needs of all learners through a process where it's not separated to you're over here in general ed and you're over here in special ed. That's going to go a long way, but that requires a culture shift. I mean, it's one thing to say, okay, we're going to create a structure where every kid is going to be put in an inclusionary setting right now, but if we don't give teachers the support and the time to co-plan, and that's the biggest thing with making that work, is that you need to have teachers, you know, special education teachers, regular education teachers, on a regular basis, sitting down, looking at lessons, analyzing student work. That's when it happens well. You know, as a teacher, you need to figure out where are your students at, You know, what do they know? What are their feelings? What are their beliefs? And, you know, as a math teacher, you know, it's a funny story to bring up, but I would ask my kids in the first day of class, a question they'd never been asked before in a math class, I'm guessing most of them. It was, how does math make you feel? Which is a bizarre question for a math teacher to ask. But when I asked that question, the reason I asked is because I wanted to know what students' mindsets were about math and how I could use that to help communicate the math that I needed to. You know, what kind of approaches do we need to take with that student to help him or her succeed? It's the same kind of thing here. I want to listen. You know, when we talk about town meeting, you know, the fact that I spent a good deal of time listening to what town meeting members' concerns are, you know, helped me frame that presentation, my response to their questions in a way that hopefully addressed some of those concerns up front. I'd like to think I was successful this fall in doing it. So that's what it comes down to, being open and honest and transparent. I think that was the other thing that you know, whether it's with the school committee, whether it's with parents, whether it's with staff, whether it's whomever, is being open and honest about it.